2023 Ironman Mont Tremblant Athlete Guide is finally out, and so we are going to dive into some of the details here. First couple of pages are welcome letters from notable people here, and what you will also have here is a couple of unique things here. So first of all, they have on their athlete guide the event schedule. A couple different races are happening, the 70.3 and then the 5150 race, which is a super sprint. So if you are doing the 70.3, make sure you are looking at the event schedule and checking out the blue Ironman 70.3 logos or informational things there. For instance, on that Friday, June 23rd, 70.3 athlete check-in is available from 11 to 8 p.m. There is no check-in on Sunday. Now, again, this is the Saturday. This is also the 5150 race right here. The couple different things are going to be available, like the VIP Welcome Center. The Expo is going to be available for you, so it isn't just that one race there. But diving down a little bit further to that Saturday, June 24th, 70.3 becomes the forefront of the focus here. So if you are a English-speaking person, make sure you are looking at the bottom of these things here. It is a lot more clearer when you do that. The top is in French because it is in French Canada. Back to Saturday, June 24th, athlete check-in is available again from 11 to 5. Again, there is no check-in on that Sunday. Mandatory bike check-in is the same day, 12:30 to 5:30, and there is a mandatory briefing from 2 or at 2 and also at 4 as well. Now, the Sunday, June 25th, obviously is race day here. Transition opens at that 5:15 a.m., closes at 6:30. Morning clothes drop-off bag is available from 6 to 7, with the pro start happening at 6:50, female start happening 5 minutes thereafter, and official age group rolling start happening 5 minutes after that at approximately 7 a.m. Pretty cool presentation leading up to the race. Usually they have an awesome presentation. They do the Canadian national anthem. Sometimes there is a fighter jet that flies over the mountains. It's pretty cool. So be braced for that. Morning clothes, bike, and equipment checkout is 11:30 to 5 p.m. same day. And then at 4 p.m. we have the awards ceremony and the 2023 VinFast Ironman 70.3 World Championship slot allocation / roll down. If you are a lady, please note that. We will talk about that a little bit later. Athlete check-in on page 12. When, where, what to bring are all listed here. You will receive your bike stickers there. You will not be permitted to have any other stickers on your bike other than the frame sticker issued at athlete check-in. This is something they're hammering down a little bit more of this year, so be aware of that. You will probably have to remove some stickers if you have them on your bike, even if they just are on your stem. Your packet pickup will include all of these items listed here. Notice your timing chip is not there. You will receive that later at bike check-in. Pre-race info, page 14. It lists things like mandatory athlete briefing. Swimming is permitted in the designated area. Make sure you check that out at transition, usually at the marina. Mandatory bike check-in. We have that on Saturday, June 24th from 12:30 to 5:30. We have also talked about that. This is the second time we've done that, so make sure you do that. You will not be able to do that on race day, okay? Scrolling down here, specific race day info is on page 15. You have your race morning procedure, which transition opens at that 5:15 and it closes at 6:30 a.m. So not a huge window. You have a little bit more than an hour to get everything situated and solved if you have any problems like a flat tire in transition on race morning. Race day parking, you can read about it there. Again, page 15. Body marking, you do not need to get body marked. You don't have to do that at this race. Aid stations, approximately every 20 Ks on the bike, which is about every 12 miles, and then approximately 1.8 Ks or 1.12 miles apart on the run. These are the general offerings here. You might find a couple of other unique things offered here and there, but for the most part, this is going to be the standard thing that you are offered at those aid stations. Timing chip, this is what we talked about earlier. It is not going to be in your race packet when you pick it up at check-in, okay? And you will get that that was horrible. You must stop at the timing table as you exit the athlete check-in area, okay? So a little bit different than some races. So when you do your check-in, you have an additional step to do your athlete timing chip check-in there. You must wear those on your left ankle at all times during the race. You don't have to wear it beforehand, but when you are racing, left ankle. Race day info again, course cutoffs on page 17, wetsuit optional racing, relay info is on page 18. On page 19, they have a unique picture of what a time trial start looks like on the swim. Very, very good picture. As you can see, you have a corral person here and there, and they will release 1, 2, 3, 4 people all at the same time. And I think it's about every 3 to 5 seconds apart. Depends on the race, but they do stagger you pretty well there. Post-race information on page 20, such as bike and gear, checkout, photography, medical areas, lost and found, timing results, all that good stuff. Qualifying is on page 22. Remember to stop off after. This is something we identified early on. 30 women are going to Kona here, so they have 30 women slots available at this race. So you might want to hit the roll down if you are a lady. So let's get into some course specifics here. Course specific number 1 is the rolling swim start. It is a single loop. Transition is over here. So remember, in the morning when that transition area closes, you do have a bit of a walk to go over here. Throwaway sandals or shoes or whatever are highly advised. Otherwise, you will be walking barefoot over there. You can put it in your morning clothes bag if you don't have a ton of stuff in there anyways. And it just makes that transition a little bit smoother in the morning. It's one less thing to think about. If you have sandals there already, you might just want to pack them in and put them in your morning clothes bag there. Makes things a lot easier when you finish as well because you have that there already. Now, race morning, this area can get backed up a little bit. You do have to walk up a bigger hill to get to that race start. There's going to be a huge line of athletes because it is that time trial start. It is not the bunched start that they have had in multiple years past. But the time trial start does get backed up on that area, so be prepared to come with some snacks if you need them. Maybe you bring your sports drink or whatever you're sipping on race morning up to that point in time there, and just expect to wait a little bit longer than you think you need to here. I don't know if they will have Don Johns or other porta potties over there. They typically do. They scatter them out. Some years they do, some years they don't. So check it out on the couple days you are there beforehand to make sure you know what's going to happen before you step into that water. So if there are only a couple of spots available for you to go to the bathroom in the morning, you might want to think about doing that at transition before it closes, if possible, to the best of your ability. Now, the swim, as we do get released into that time trial fashion, we have 4 athletes again and again and again. Most athletes will stagger themselves appropriately, but you will have those couple of wild cards that do not. With that, this whole area becomes a hot mess this first stretch of the way. Because you are having that varying range of abilities staggered throughout here, and it does take a little bit to kind of find your group. Whether you're at the front, middle, or back, it just is what it is here. The closer you are to the front of this race and the faster times, the more accurate these will get. But as you get longer and longer to this corralled start, the more fluctuations that happen, and you just have wildness happening here. So for these first 3 buoys, I would expect to come out at a hard start. I know you're coming in a staggered phase here, but expect to come out hard, right? And after that, I would start to cool down a little bit and swim your pace. This will allow you to catch up to a couple of people that you can swim around or with or whatever, but keep in mind the couple scenarios that will follow here. After that 3rd buoy, if you do find yourself attached to a group, remember, you caught up to these people and those first 3 buoys. A great way to ruin your swim split is to totally put the hammer down here and then just cruise with a group that is way too slow for you. A very, very common trend for athletes to do at this course. I'm not sure why. Maybe you just get sucked into some of the monotony here. But after these first 3 buoys, if you catch up to a group and you want to just allow them to pull you along for a little bit, absolutely, right? But as this buoy comes up, if that is the scenario you have, you need to leapfrog them and find a different group at this point in time right here. That first turn right there is going to be hot no matter what you do. There's going to be a bunch of people everywhere. Remember, it's a 90-degree turn. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't overthink it. You're going there. You're turning to the right, okay? Turn to the right, keep swimming after the first 7, 8, 10 strokes, then pick your head up. If you do vary off either direction here, it's not going to be the end of the world because it's just 10 strokes, and you might find a little bit cleaner water just a tad out to the side. What I always tell people during these stretches here is it might not be the worst situation if you are one body length to the left or to the right of perfect here, and you'll be amazed how much free water you actually have. Going back to our scenarios here when we dive back in, if you are alone and just solo up until this fourth or fifth buoy right here, these sighting buoys, make sure that you start to swim your pace and you don't get sucked into the I have to put the hammer down until I find a group. If you are unable to find a group and you are 4 to 5 buoys out on the swim course, you need to slow things down and swim your pace here, because this swim's going to be over before you know it. After this fifth sighting buoy here, we have our first turn, we have our second turn, which is going to be very similar to the first turn. There's just going to be people all over the place at this course. And then we have a straight shot in, one of the cleanest swims out on the circuit here. You have the potential to have a fast time or a really slow time if you let other people play games with you. After you do this second turn buoy right here, you might have a little bit of sun in your face, but not really a whole lot, especially if you are a right-handed breather. Now, once we do get to this stretch, another popular thing for athletes to do is totally crush this stretch from this second turn buoy up to the finish. Hold off on doing that and swim your pace here. It's very easy to get sucked into going very, very fast here, and keep this in mind. If you come out of the water 30 a minute faster than what you typically would have, but you had to totally crush yourself to do that, then that is probably not what you want to do on race day, right? Because you've expended all this unnecessary energy for about 45 seconds, a minute faster. That's not what you want. So swim this smart. Expect to wait at the beginning, right? And expect there to be people for this whole first stretch if you are not one of the first front runners getting launched off in that group. Swim course rules were located on page 26 along with the wetsuit temperatures. And then as we scroll down here, we're going to start to get into the bike course here. So this is a one-loop bike course. It is the Mont Tremblant Ironman bike course for the most part. We do stay on the highway and this out and back right here. But again, it is just a one-loop course. They have their starting elevation at 232, finish at 263, and then their gain at 694. I always find that this start and finish elevation pretty funny because it's in the exact same spot. So I don't know how they have a 30-meter difference in elevation start and finishing, but that's just me. So now let's head on over to this exact same course right here. We have the Ironman Mont Tremblant 70.3, and you can see that it is very jagged here. A couple of key things to note on this course right here as we dive into this best bike split situation or scenario right through here. As is typical, when you get out of the water, you're going to make that right-hand turn, and you're going to go up a couple of hills, head down to the highway before you take a right-hand turn out there, and then you are going to experience some wind diving back down, and then you're going to, again, on this year's course, it is a little different. We do stay on the highway a bit before we turn around, and then we go back in, we pass the finish line, and we go all the way up and then back down before we finish here. And I hope you watch that wind profile as we go out, and that is going to play a key role in your racing as you do this course, and there are a couple of big things to note. So diving in to our course here. So let's get that a little bit cleaner here. Here we go. So the start of our race is happening right through here. We do head out of that parking lot, and then this first section right through here, it is a little bit chunky, right? You might want to have your bike in an easier gear coming out of that transition. You'll be able to go fast initially, but you are going to have to go up a hill, the same one that you had to walk up to get to that swim start. Then on this back section right through here, it is going to be a little bit interesting. There's ups, there's downs. You're going all over the place here. You want to find your rhythm, and it's going to be very, very challenging too. And that is going to last pretty much from here. That is a better selection for you right through there. You're going to be going on highways. There's going to be larger hills. This is going to be where you can experience some headwinds, some crosswinds. This is going to be where the gusts kind of come at you a little bit more, and it's going to be more of a challenging ride. But it does die out once you get to about right through here, and then you start to undulate downhill as you go to that highway. This first stretch of our highway right through here is a challenging spot for sure. And then once you get up and over that main hill, which is this one right through here, then what you're going to have is exactly what you want to have on an Ironman course. You are going to have this undulating hill terrain, but it is going to be, for the most part, relatively flat. And this is going to be a point in time where you can absolutely crush it if you want to. Ignore this last section right through here. This is up and over the overpass. That's not what you are going to have to do on race day. You will just have to turn around on the race course and bam, back you go again. So as you can see, this whole section right through here, we have about, let's call it a 19 and a half mile. Let's call it 20 miles just for rounding. You have about a 20-mile area where you can absolutely fly, but I will caution you against doing so. And you can look at the best bike split as I'm talking about this. This section that we're talking about here is right through here. Let's zoom in. So on this recording here, this is the orange section right through here as we are going out and back in, okay? And speed, this blue or this orange line is relatively high, but if we watch that wind, we are in a continuous cross and headwind as we are going. Cross head, cross head. Well, this is us coming back now. We have a cross tailwind, right? And it does swoop around and hit us with a headwind again. So this is a popular area for our athletes to have a troubling day. And you don't feel these effects during this section, right? You might find that you are feeling some of these effects towards the end of this 20-mile section. But if you are going 20 miles an hour, this is an hour long of your time right through here. And so it's not a super throwaway point. It's a lot longer than you want it to be, and it can also be a lot more punishing. Don't go out too hard because you will pay for it on the way back in. And you are also met with the most famous hill out on course, which we will talk about right through here. And we're going down to the bottom of this U-turn right here. So as you get closer and closer here, you're going to start to see this hill very apparent, and it's going to be a spot where everyone kind of bunches together just because your speeds are so low. Going back to this best bike split here, this person is going to bottom out at a speed of about 9 miles an hour before they slowly start making their way back up to speed. There is a water or aid station that is almost always located at the top of this hill. And this is a great opportunity for you, again, to ruin your race. And it's coming on the back of that 20-mile section. So be smart in that 20-mile section to allow you to get up this hill in a controlled manner. And I would argue that this is going to be the point in time where you start to kind of turn the screws on some of your competitors here. The athlete that does it in reverse turns the screws on everybody else for these first 30 miles are going to pay for it later on. So manage your race for these first 30 miles, and you will have huge dividends later on. As we get up and over this hill, let's bounce back here. As we get up and over this hill, things become a lot easier. This is going to be the hardest hill on course. We have 7 and a couple of 8, 8.5, 9%, I believe, in a couple locations there. And again, we do have another hill coming up afterwards as well. So it isn't all happy days afterwards, but if you use this big downhill to kind of get your speed up, then this uphill isn't super aggressive. Kind of use that downhill to go up the uphill, if you know what I mean. And again, we have undulating territory before we go downhill again. And if you look, this turnaround is at the bottom of this hill, okay? Or at the bottom of this point where we're turning, which means when we turn around, we're going to be going uphill. So as you are approaching that turnaround, make sure you're shifting into easier gear. So when you do the turnaround, you're able to get back up to speed a lot easier than someone else, which is in a super, super heavy gear. Okay, turning around, we are burning back up into the transition area, and you're going to be able to ride up all these hills that gave you some initial trouble later or earlier on in your race. Because of that, again, you will have to be ready to work at this point in time. There's just no way around it. Your power will go up a little bit, right? You are experiencing some of the highest power outputs in this section through here. And if I could circle it a little bit better for you guys, you'll be able to see right through there. And keep in mind that blue is the elevation here. So look, this is the chunkiest or most aggressive part of the course here. And it ends with this little section past the transition area here. So what that is you're going to go back in a transition. These are the uphills, downhills, the point in time which you don't really want to hit, but you have to. Now, we have passed the transition area, and we are going to the top up here. What you are noticing is that it is a chunky uphill. It is a rolling uphill. It's not the funnest, right? You'll think that you'll be able to go up it a lot faster than you will. So just kind of sit tight and just hold your power and be smart here. And that is the key on this last section. Be smart on this section. That the athlete that really tries to force the power here is going to be the athlete that pays for it later on. And I'll talk about why in a minute. During this section, you are going to also have a multitude of people. This is where everyone kind of comes together because the speeds are lower. Think if you're 20 mile an hour down the road, you're a lot more spaced out just because everyone's going that. But when you're going 5 to 10 miles an hour, you're going that, and everybody else is. So the times between you get a little bit lower. The time is the same, right? But the distance is getting smaller in between you. A couple spots on this course do have some moss-covered roadway. So if it is a damp day or a rainy day, be careful on some of the spots where you are going fast in these sections. Very, very common for athletes to go down during this point of the race. And when we go back to the back half, when we go back into transition, this is also another big key of this course going back in. Again, look at it. It is a chunky downhill, right? Downhill, but very, very chunky, and it's met with a lot of uphill as well. There was 200 feet of elevation gain in this portion right here, and only 485 of loss. So again, this is another area where athletes think that they will just do a lot of work going up this section, and then they're going to turn around and it's going to be total happy days coming back into the transition. And in reality, your work unfortunately is not done yet. Okay, beware of doing too much work here, and again, watch your speed. And if you're only going 18 miles an hour but you are within your target power, go that 18 miles an hour. Don't chase the 24, 28 miles an hour, because if you do that, you are going to totally cook your legs leading up to that transition area. And we also have another final absolute hill that's coming up here. Again, 4.5, and there is going to be a couple of portions where it's in the 6%, and you're not going to be hitting this hill overly aggressively either, so you are going to feel every percent of incline here. That is a leg killer out on course. Don't crush it, and you will be fine. And that is the bike course in a nutshell. If you want more, make sure you connect with me individually, and I'll happily talk to you about a couple other secrets of this course. Bike course rules on page 32 and 33. And then the run course is the last one, and again, it is also a one loop course. Okay, this is the Ironman course here. The only difference is we are going to be on the other side of the road here. So we are going to go down, we are going to go all the way back down here, and then we are going to come back out again. If we look at our elevation profile, we start out going uphill for the most part, right? And the area where you do need to watch out on this course is coming out of that transition right here, and also right here to start, and that lasts up until this section right through there. That big hill after you leave the lake, it is a notorious leg killer. Okay, and you can see that, if I don't scroll past it, you can see that right through here. Okay, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. This is the hill that we just identified right there. Okay, and afterwards you can see that there is it's downhill, right? But it's not. You're going to have uphills, you're going to have downhills, and it's not going to be as easy as you want it to be. And then we are turning around, and we have that uphill right through there, okay? And that is going to be the point in time that we talked about earlier when we just talked about leaving the lake, all right? And so you are going to have to run down that hill. So you can see that hill from another point in time right there. And then you have a couple up and downs leading to that finish line, and I haven't really talked about too many specifics on the run course for a specific reason. After you get past that big lake hill and the early hills, which you're going to have to go up slower than you want to coming out of transition, but after you get past those two big ones, a lot of the hills are manageable. Don't be surprised if you find yourself doing a walk-run strategy on this course. That's, again, not the end of the world here. If you do find yourself in a strategy like that, make sure you find yourself walking up some of the steeper sections of the hill and running down hills if possible. That way you are losing the least amount of time on your competitors. Okay. This course is filled with life out on the run course. It's very, very fun. Even in the turnaround at the very, very bottom of the course, you are going to have a whole host of life on here. Spectators are abound everywhere, and it is a all-around great race to attend. Every time we have athletes or I go up myself, it is nothing but positive vibes and compliments for everyone here. So, when you are coming out of that transition, keep it easy, right? Watch your speed and your power going up that lake hill. Afterwards, you should be able to manage your race power in a multitude of areas. But again, you are going to find yourself walking on some of these uphills for sure. For sure. And don't let that eat at your head. Okay, it's very, very common for athletes to do that, especially this first section leading up to, let's call this the hotel right through here. After you get past this point in time, it starts to smooth off a little bit, and you can really find your rhythm on this back section before you're met with the challenges of these early miles leading up to or leading down to the finish. Um, so if you do have a great day, you're running really well, or even not, and you find your pace back at this bottom over here, very common for athletes to just fall apart at this section right through here. Get through this as best as possible. Do not forget about your fueling on race day during this section on the bottom. Very easy to do so, and it's because there's aid stations literally everywhere on this back section here. And athletes will just like, oh, this is just another one down the road. It's no big deal. I just had one, no big deal. Even if you don't have one and it's a hotter day, cool yourself off if nothing else. Make sure you're monitoring your nutrition on the bike, on the run, pretty much everywhere, and you're going to have a race that you will be able to brag about for sure. One of the coolest finishes in triathlon will happen at this race. You'll zigzag through the town and then you'll go right through the stage at the very end. People everywhere, make sure you are aware of pedestrians crossing through the running path. There are collisions every year, so just be aware of the other challenges all the way up until that line. That race is not finished until you do cross that line, so make sure you are watching till the very end. Have a great race, everybody.